Hi, Simon.
Hey, Lisa.
How are you feeling?
Oh, feeling pretty good. Although
Yeah.
I did upper body strength training a couple days ago, and now my my muscle back
Your
here,
lats. Yeah.
I guess it's the lats.
Yep.
I barely know my
Your muscle groups,
muscle
geography,
geography,
anatomy.
anatomy. And I was like, I sit here, and even earlier I was like twitching, and I'm like, what is going on? I mean, I feel good about upping the weight. My
Yep.
trainer's like, or a friend of ours who actually teaches a class. He just was like, you guys got to push the weight.
You do because that when you're sore, that's telling you that
I know, but I'm like, how do
you've
I like
you got to roll it out.
like what?
Foam roller. You got to put it under your armpit.
Do I like lay over?
Roll. Yes, literally. And then you got to kind of go like.
Do I need to wear yoga pants while I do this? Or
No. I mean, you definitely want. Well, you probably doesn't feel good on your skin actually, so you might want to wear long sleeves.
I think I would wear,
Yeah.
something. But look at that, she has guns.
Not as much as you. Yeah, because wait a minute, isn't it? Did you say it was bicep curls that you were doing that you hurt yourself?
Oh, I didn't hurt myself.
You're sore from?
It was all upper body. Yeah. So
so all around stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do free weights or did you have machine?
Both.
Oh,
well, it depends on the day, but this day was bench, and I upped that, and bicep curls, tricep more weight.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Funny. Yeah. I think about in January, you get all these new people coming to your gym because they have all these New Year's resolutions,
and they walk around.
I hate it. Yeah.
I mean, I was a newbie
come February,
too.
Is that when you? I hope that's not when you joined.
I started. I think in November. I wanted to get ahead of the crowd.
Well, that's good because usually by February, I think it dies down a little bit. And as a matter of fact, so my gym put out an ad campaign that said, we don't do January. And basically they were not letting people enroll in January, which I thought was fascinating because usually all the gyms are trying to get people in because they don't care if you sign up and you never come again. Right. That's what they want.
Try it for free, or or you either pay an upfront fee, or you're committing to like 6 months or a year or whatever.
Yeah, so they don't care. They want you to not come.
I mean, I think all of that promotion to me becomes noise, especially January, because everybody's doing it at the same time.
Absolutely.
And
it's right. And so it's like, well, how do I pick, this gym over that gym when they're all offering and you expect it. You expect it.
I think for me, the big thing was that I had a friend who was working out, who really liked the gym, who introduced me. So in a sense, it was word of mouth, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
And then the gym,
and you have a buddy to go with.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's the power of the word of mouth stuff. It's one of those things in marketing we just don't track. We can't track. You can ask. I think it's interesting. How'd you hear about us and stuff? But yeah.
Well, that's not even the topic today. No, on the contrary, we're talking on the other component of this conversation, which is around running promotions and how sometimes if you run them too often or, when everybody else is running them, it's a little tricky to cut through the noise.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think and there's promotions you expect, if you will. Black Friday. But even that one's getting really noisy, and it's no longer just a day. Right. And then there's all the funny makeup, made up ones, right? Like, it's National Donut Week, or
I was going to say that. Get a free donut, and then if you buy something else,
a dozen of donuts.
Yeah,
right?
something.
Who needs a dozen donuts? Especially.
Yep. Exactly.
So why don't we drill into here a little bit more? Like, what is the art and science of running a good promotion? Like,
oh my God, that's a loaded question. So,
I know.
Well, why don't we start with a little bit of context? Because I think it also depends on, it depends on your business. So you and I are marketing consultants. We don't run promotions. It's not something that we're like Black Friday sale, you know, so it depends on what your business is. And if you can offer a promotion, I mean, well, you know what though? I mean, I guess we have free consultations is something we do offer, but we do that year round. We don't have it.
Sure.
It's not a moment and then like limited time. I mean, I guess we could, you know, get 2 hours free instead of, for a limited time.
I mean, part of the strategy around promotions, let's maybe just define today. Let's talk about date-based or seasonal-based promotions. I think there's definitely, like you just said, we offer a free half an hour consulting conversation. Maybe you have to pay for coffee, but or we'll write it off. But the idea is that we need to make sure we are always up leveling that as an offer. So in other words, if someone engages with us and it looks like they're serious, they either need our help or there's something, we think we can help them with, then we should put that consulting hour out there as a entry. We've talked about trials and things like that. I think so that's like it's an offer, if you will. Yeah, that's an offer, and it's always standing. Today, I think we were talking a little bit because we're 6 months away from holiday season, I think, and so this is the time to start thinking about what you're going to do. If for anything, certain events,
because again, it doesn't. It might not be appropriate for your business, but it also, I feel like it's a good excuse to rally around something to get people interested. So you alluded to holiday season is 6 months away. Well, Amazon fabricated their whole Prime Day or week or whatever it is, and they actually do it twice a year. They do it in, I think, July, and here I am saying it. It's like I know that it's a thing,
right? And
then in October. So if I know I want to buy something big and I want to buy it on Amazon, I'm gonna wait. So there's a psychology behind that as well. Like if you get trained.
There's other things, areas that I'm involved in. We have a Make a Will and Make a Trust month in August, right? And
did you make that up?
No, it's like a national thing. But I think it is made up, right? It's not like more people think about writing a will or trust in August. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that every industry that's involved in areas of trust and will making, from charities to lawyers to whatever, they focus on that, and that gives that there's a positive to that, like you were saying about the Prime Day. All these, there's awareness. You create awareness for writing a will or whatever, and so
well, and then in the case of Amazon, I think they probably identified July as a slower month for sales, and like, how do we smooth that out a little bit more? And if we offer a promotion in July that everybody rallies around, and you get all of these like top, like I think at Roku, we would, when we were there, we would.
I was just think about what's happening on next Tuesday,
National Streaming Day, which we made up.
Exactly. Well, and in a sense, we didn't make it up because that was the day of the first player was launched.
That's right. And we were based in Saratoga, California at the time, and we worked with the mayor. And so it became in Saratoga, they honored us that day. And then we ended up moving to Los Gatos. And so I don't know if the Los Gatos mayor.
What year was that, though? The first player was 2008?
That sounds right.
That's crazy. Anyway,
I know.
But it is a day. So at Roku, we invented that day, and we got partners to rally around it, and we got hardware deals for the week. And I do remember it was a day, and then it became a week, and then it was almost like a month. And it's
always the case. And then you lead up to it like a hint that this is coming,
right?
Yeah, try to train, and then again, people get trained though. That's the thing. It's like you got to be careful. If it's one thing to I like the idea of how Amazon did it, because it's like literally like 6 months away from holiday season. And so that feels like you're not jeopardizing anything. You're actually going to probably drive more demand, and it's okay if people are expecting it. But sometimes if you do promotions every other month, which I have an example with, we went on a cruise in March on Norwegian Cruise Lines, and I get emails constantly that is last chance. Literally, they constantly are doing promotions. It ends tonight. And then like next week, we've got another promotion. It's like,
oh,
Boy That Cried Wolf, like I'm like, I can come back at any time or I have to wait a week to get a promotion, because it comes all the time.
Well, and Southwest Airlines, like I'm a big fan.
They do that too.
I'm not sure I'm going to be a fan, but that's another topic. But right now I'm a big fan of the way they operate. But they do constantly, like every 2 weeks or so, there's a 30% off.
Want to get away?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And literally, I know I can book a ticket now. And then when that promo comes up, I probably will save money. I can go back and change my flight and get the deal. Yep. So, they, in a sense, they, sometimes you delay sales because of that.
Right. They might delay sales, but then you used an example where maybe you already bought it. So it's not changing your behavior necessarily other than, I can actually get it a little bit cheaper, but maybe it's actually getting people to buy that weren't planning on taking a trip.
Sure.
They're like, that's the thing. So they're cleaning up a couple of people that they didn't have because they, they're like, it's too much.
I also think that because they do it frequently, in a sense, there is a, all of a sudden I need to take a trip to LA, and they'll have a deal and I'll be like, oh, this is fantastic. Like in a sense, it's almost a customer like friendly thing, yes. we knew you were going to need to fly with a week notice kind of thing. And so you feel good. You're like, oh, I got a deal, right? So I'll probably keep flying Southwest or something like that.
Yeah.
So so that's sort of the context of all of this, but what are the, how do you start? What's the plan look like for this?
Yeah, right. So again, going back to that Amazon example, I have a feeling that they probably looked at data. They were like, okay, this is a slower month. We have to figure out how to get people in. They have a lot of other strategies with their business that can help. Like, obviously, they're a huge company that have a lot of levers. The fact that, I don't know, 90% of people in the United States have a Prime account, like it's some crazy number like that. Right. So they already can have buyer behaviors, they just have a lot of information. So not everybody necessarily has that, but maybe intuitively, very, seasonally, like this beginning of the school year, we get a lot of people, or in the spring, we lose people. So maybe there's something that you need to do to try to retain people during that time that you're losing people, and having a plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, sort of pre-planning, right? When is a good time to do this?
Yeah. You don't want to do something, well, maybe you do. I was just thinking, I was going to say, gotta finish my thought. I was going to say you don't have to offer a promotion right before, say, Black Friday when everybody else is going to do that. But maybe that is the strategy if you want to try to get people in. And not only that, if you're phasing out a product and you've got a new version of that product, you might lower the price on that older one to try to. Apple does this, I think, because they usually do not do promotions, and so it's technically not a promotion. They just lower the price wholesale, so it's a little bit different than promotions.
And technically, Walmart doesn't do promotions, but they'll do a rollback, and that's something they'll do to.
That's right
at the end of a product life cycle or something like that. But they do it. They do it during holiday time.
Well, I'm realizing we're actually talking about pricing in general, not just so that's a little sidebar.
Price change is a form of a promotion, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I was thinking too, like you were saying, sort of even back to school. Again, if your customer base has something to do with going back to school, right? So you're some sort of service provider or.
Well, we did back to school campaigns at Roku too, and it's not like a streaming stick or player had anything to do with school supplies.
I never understood that. Yeah, but even then,
I know it was a stretch, but it just gave. This is another point. It gives you an excuse to get attention, and it's like, I don't even know if anybody would be like, hey, why is Roku doing a back to school thing? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I think I even recall that. At a couple different companies, you also have campaign strategy changes, which aren't necessarily promotions, right? True. You have stuff, you get ready for travel in the summer. So we start marketing in May about doing travel with a Roku device or something like that.
Yep.
Something like Adobe Creative Cloud for students, you obviously want to start to market right before school starts in the fall, the college and high school and things like that. So I think the key thing is, like you mentioned, like, how do you stand out in the crowd, in the noise? You have to be really relevant, right? And it has to be something cool or exciting or sort of wow. I think the other thing is you've got to like have that balance on frequency, right? You can't always be running a promo like we said.
Yeah, Norwegian cruise lines. Yeah, it's seriously. And I don't mind. Like, I don't mind. I'm not going to unsubscribe from these emails because I still like maybe somehow.
But you're not going to open them all. See, that honestly
sometimes I do. I don't know. I feel like I do.
So every one of the Southwest Airlines promos that the headline says 30% off, want to get away. I don't even open them.
Yeah, that's fair. So they do have different subject lines on the Norwegian ones.
Yeah, if I have a trip coming up, I'll maybe log into the app to see if I can get a better price or something like that.
So in typical fashion, we're getting a little off topic, but just in related to travel though, like I feel like Southwest has a low enough price point that somebody would spontaneously do that. I don't think you're spontaneously going to sign up for a cruise. You have to get there. You have to, take a week off or so. Sometimes you have to get, like, maybe it's international.
You might not if it's a week away, but you might actually say, you know what, let's you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
In a sense, you get a good offer.
You're right. You're totally right. Because as a matter of fact, these offers, while the offer might expire, it's not necessarily for a cruise that's right then and there. Good point. I don't know why I thought that. So I think you have to avoid, I do think you have to avoid bombarding people because again, the psychology around it is just like people they get used to it and they're not going to, like me, I'm not going to bite on these constant promotions. Like, give me something else.
Yeah. Black Friday actually, I think is an example of, that literally didn't exist until the late 90s, early 2000s. It was, and I don't remember the story now, but
it's when companies got all their, they got a ton of revenue that day.
Right.
So they were in the black instead of being in the red.
But I think that was the point in the year when they actually started to make a profit, or kind of thing, right? For the holiday season. And
then Cyber Monday got made up.
Yeah, exactly. And that could have been made up before 2000, right?
Because there was exactly. Not a lot of e-commerce happening at that time.
Yeah. So I think that the idea is now, because I sort of don't even think about Black Friday. Like, honestly, like, I know.
Well, I think of, if I have a big purchase, I think I'm going to wait until then.
Yeah.
Because to get, and again, I do think of this as more of the big purchases, or even if it's getting close, like if it's October, sometimes I'll just hold off a little bit because I'm like, it's probably going to be cheaper, And there are companies like Kate Spade, which is a brand that I love. They will come out with things that it's like, I love them. And I'm like, oh my God. But then if I wait a month, it goes on sale. So I know that's what they do. So it's either like they get, and I used to be naive. And so I'd be like, I got to have it. And I'd buy it. And then, then I'd see it later for, half off or something. And so now I'm trained.
It's funny.
I know to just wait.
There's a set of pans that I would like to have from Costco. And they're not expensive. $110, I think, is what they sell for right now.
It's a set?
three fry pans.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Yeah.
And but I keep walking by them and I'm like, I know these will go on sale. They have to go, like, even if they go $10 off, because I'm in Costco once every couple of weeks or more, because I get gas and all that. It's like, I just keep waiting. And it's silly because maybe this is the one product that's not going to get discounted. They're just going to sell out of, and that's it. Right.
Well, it's a chance you have to take.
I feel like there is sort of this like overwhelming, like always deal things going on. So what what would you say? What are some of those strategies that people can adopt to like combat this sort of frequency fatigue?
Well, you got to be creative with your messaging. So I talked about my gym saying we don't do January. I think that broke through because it's like it differentiated them from everybody else. And so then which that fascinated me. Like I just thought, what a good idea that is. So if everybody's doing this, try doing that. I mean, I don't know what that is, for your
right.
business. But I also think it's good to have just some sort of a campaign message. So we talk about back to school, or is it made up streaming day, or is it Prime Week? Because again, a lot of other companies, not just Amazon, other companies participate in that who sell on Amazon. So everybody kind of rallies around that particular week. I think at this point, graduation, and earlier we were saying like, how is back to school relevant to streaming players? And it's like, we still did it. Like we managed to, again, Shelly Williams, shout out to our awesome partner marketing director,
co-marketing.
Or partner marketing. Like she worked with retail sales. She worked with, like HBO, Showtime, Pandora, whatever. And she would get these deals. So it's like, if you buy a Roku player, you also get like 3 months free of these like 3 different streaming things. Like 3 months was a good offer. It's because everybody does like a week or, week trial, right. So she would, kind of arrange to have something like that. And so it just was back to school and, maybe throw a little backpack in there and, but it did well.
I mean, some of those promos, you almost buy them just for the content offer, not for the device itself. Right. So yeah, I think the other thing is, if you have a lot of customers, think about targeting customers during certain times. So like you were just talking, if you know that your customer has children or your customers are college students, whatever, that is a good time maybe to use back to school as a excuse to market to them. If you know they're older customer, let's say between 50 and 70, use something like Make a Will Month in August to promote legal services, estate planning services, something like that you do. And don't message everybody else, right? Don't message your 35-year-olds, although I think everyone should have a trust and a will, but that's another story.
I do
agree. Segment out customers. Don't be afraid to really target people, because I think what's going to happen then is the people who it doesn't apply to, it doesn't create fatigue if they don't get it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And you also made me think that you could do the sort of the opposite, whereas you target your existing customers with your promotion, like Southwest, you're an existing customer. But let's say it's for you specifically because you flew in the last 30 days or something like that, that they want to try to incentivize you. You are a subset of all of the customers, or you're like, this is for loyalty. We want to offer a promotion just for you loyal people. And then maybe you wait, a week, you give them, Nordstrom does this actually. They give you early access. I'm a Nordstrom card holder and I literally only use it if I buy something at Nordstrom, but they give me early access to when they have 2 sales a year too. They have an anniversary sale and a half yearly sale. That's what they call them. And it's not getting rid of the crap. It's current fashion that they just lower the price these 2 times a year.
Yeah.
And then again, they give people early access to it. So you can't buy it, but you can browse, you can add it to your cart and everything. And then you basically get first dibs on some of these things before they sell out.
I mean, they also have some other interesting mechanisms like days that you can get multiple points. Like
10
if you're
times
trying,
points,
trying to earn your notes. Notes are basically a gift card back. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's 1% of what you spend. And it's funny when every now and then I would do, there's a woman that I work with there, personal shopper, which is it's a free service. So it sounds very fancy, but she basically is like, oh, what do you think about these things? She puts a bunch of clothes in a dressing room, and then I try them on, and then I end up leaving with way too much stuff because she like knows me well. So if ever she texts me, like we have that kind of relationship now. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming in. Like, because if I come in, I'm going to leave with bang a lot of stuff. But I know I've spent a lot of money when I get like a $50 note or like a $200 note. I'm like, oh no.
A $200 note, it better be more than 1% because
I mean, I've spent a lot of money at times, during my prime and when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think you need to have like something to rally around. So it's maybe it's a campaign theme, because just saying 30% off for like no reason, I don't know. I guess that's what Southwest does. Want to get away? 30% off.
I was thinking about it. They know the cities that I travel to.
Oh.
So they'll tell me 30% off to Santa Ana, 30% off to Denver, 30% off to Portland, whatever it is.
Smart.
And what's also interesting is sometimes those sales get me in and I end up buying something that isn't on sale.
Sure. Right? Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like
it's the hook, but you're like, but I don't want to go to Santa Ana now. Right. I want to go to New York or something. And that's not on sale.
And I think that's another approach, right? You don't have to discount everything. You don't have to have a deal on your whole portfolio of services or whatever. You can talk about a lost leader. That's another concept that people use, right? When thinking about product marketing, is like, what can I give away for free or things like that. So,
what about duration? How long do you think a promotion should last?
I mean, given the conversation we've been having about Black Friday, I actually think it should literally be Thursday through Monday or that weekend. Yeah, you should start at like midnight Eastern on Friday if you're a US based company and end it Friday. Like literally you could do one day and make it huge. Maybe repeat it on Cyber Monday, but I think I think these week longs are starting Black Friday, November 1st is ridiculous.
It's crazy. I know it starts so early.
Honestly, what I think is there's going to be a better deal on Black Friday, and then there isn't, and then I either miss it or I'm just like bummed because they didn't do a specific, deeper discount on something on Black Friday. So, call it holiday sales, but don't call it Black Friday till it's Black Friday. But that's more of a pet peeve, not a strategy. Although I think the strategy is to have short, very focused campaigns, right?
I think so too. So the rest of the year, I feel like, like using that Prime example, I do think Prime does it for a week. I mean, Amazon does it for a week when they have that Prime week.
No, it's usually only 3 days.
2 days?
Well,
okay.
No, I don't know that for sure because then they added the October one. And I think that also is sort of in pre-holiday, like.
Yeah, I just got a thing. I just got a flyer from like a printed mail piece from Walmart. They had to me, it felt like their answer to Prime days, which that I think was a week. And they had things like, okay, so I have not to brag, but I have an American Express Platinum card. And with that, you get a Walmart Plus subscription, which felt disconnected to me.
That is so weird.
I know.
It does.
So, but I was like, yeah, it doesn't hurt. It's free. Might as well do it. So I do check Walmart, when I'm looking for something. They also offer Paramount Plus. That's included in this subscription. And during this Walmart Savings Week, or whatever they called it, they offered 6 months of adding Showtime to it, which unfortunately I was already in the midst of paying because we were I forget what we were watching, but we were watching something on Showtime. So I had it already. And so I'm like, well, if I'd known, but so that's a week though. And they have other, like, as a Walmart Plus or whatever they call it, member, you get these extra things during this time if you sign up. So,
right.
And then, again, that was a week, but I think there's a balance between, you gotta give people enough time but also don't give them too much time, because if it's too much, then again, it's just, it doesn't have that urgency.
Right. That's true.
Of a 1 day only or 3 days only, or
I think the last chance, moment.
It loses its
almost sold out.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's another thing. That's a strategy too. Is like, you should do that. You should try to create urgency.
But be careful to become sort of disingenuous or whatever. You want to maintain authenticity to your brand and to your engagement with the customer, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to seem like you're just selling stuff to sell stuff.
I know. And it does feel like if like Norwegian Cruise Lines constantly is offering discounts. Actually, Virgin does too. I don't know why I'm not dissing them, because I like that cruise line better. But I get text messages and emails from them. Oh, yeah. And it's always like, Sailor Scoop, save, 90% on your second sailor or something like that. And I'm like,
I mean, this might be another topic. It just got me thinking, there are certain things that, let's say t-shirts. I like this particular brand of t-shirts, and I'll call them out because they make really great shirts as classic tees. But they're once a week or so, there's something in my inbox, and there's not necessarily a deal that I'm interested in. Like recently, they just launched a bunch of new colors. But it's just a continuous sort of awareness campaign, so that when there is a promo or when I actually have the needs, I mean, no one needs, maybe some people do, but I heard a story that certain celebrities wear a t-shirt once and throw it away, or donate it, hopefully. But the point is that I don't need t-shirts every week, right? Kind of thing. But by keeping certain frequency and not focusing on promotion, but just really like what's new, or here's a new color or a new style or whatever, at least they're top of mind. When I do need the t-shirts, I'm going to consider them, right?
Right. Okay. So again, we did talk about emails in another episode, but what you're pointing out though is the kind of communication. So if you have a promotion, you need to communicate it. Like, how are you telling people? And again, if they're existing customers, you can email them. If you're looking to bring in prospects, it's usually advertising. All of these are topics we've covered in the past. But like, just because you have a promotion doesn't mean people are going to know about it. Right. So you do have to promote it.
You do have to talk about it.
You do have to promote a promotion. I mean, you do. And so I guess, all right, wrapping it up, like kind of trying to put a bow on it. So I think you have to look at it throughout the year, like find strategic opportunities of when you would want to do it. Don't do it all the time. Don't do it every other month. Find times when
a little unpredictable in a sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's better that way because unless you're a huge company like Amazon, where we're all trained to know these 2-3 times a year that they've got these big deals. It's better for people to be like, when your sales are lower. I like the example of like seasonality when it's like an off point in your sales. Right. That's a good time to try to get people into your product or service during that time. Having a theme, so it's not just about save, it's something else. Like you're rallying around streaming day or
your
national streaming day,
or it's not gym month, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's New Year's resolution is the thing that everybody is talking about. So let's make it an anti-New Year's resolution and, rally around it that way, which I think is clever. And then are there any things to think about? Because actually in some companies, like you're losing some revenue in some ways if you're offering a discount to something. So you do have to take that into consideration that you are there's a cost associated with that, but the idea is you make up for it in volume.
Right. Or sometimes the first month is discounted or the first time you purchase it's discounted, but then when you renew, you're not eligible. And that's just, again, I think what you're speaking to is think about planning and being strategic over a year or over 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And right now is a great time to start thinking about if you are a holiday-centric business,
seasonal,
this is plenty of time to start thinking about your campaign. It's also where you're going to invest your budget. So if you have a very even if you have a lot of money, you're going to want to implement more spend, marketing spend,
leading up to it,
advertising spend, as you are right on top of that promotional date, right? Versus burn your cash now kind of thing.
And I would also add that you should look at your existing customers and prospects differently, because you probably want to acquire new people, but at the same time, maybe there's something you can offer your existing customers. So let's say I'm just going to use Christina as an example because it comes to mind, that's seasonal. So kids have soccer, they've got basketball, whatever. So it's like they dip in and out of gymnastics throughout the year. So come spring, leading into the summer, a lot of people also travel during the summer. So it tends to be a little bit slower. It's a little bit, lumpy is the financial term for that. But maybe there's also, not only do you want to retain people, but you also want to, maybe there's siblings. So there's only one child that is doing gymnastics and maybe you want to get the second child in. So maybe you start to offer, okay, you're already enrolled, like bring the sister along to see if they're interested and so that to me is like something to the customers. She also will do they have summer camps that are super popular. And so she offers registration to the people that have gone in the past. She gives priority to those people. So that's like another thing where to me, it's not exactly a promotion, but we're getting into customer loyalty here. Right. But that compared to if you're prospecting, I think it's a different, I don't know, I would offer the same thing that I'm offering my existing customers. So you can, legally, you can do that. It's like a customer only type of thing, which we didn't even talk to Lindsay about that in that episode, but maybe we got to have her on again. That was good talk.
It was. All right.
Anything else? How do you measure it? Measure, track. Yeah. How do you do it?
I mean, you should obviously be tagging everything.
And I would do it separately.
Promotional codes.
Yeah, exactly.
So specifically to your holiday promo or whatever, you can do a number of different things, right? You need to track your traffic. So your clicks from ads, so you know what it's related to. We've already talked about that. But if you're having someone put in a code to, summer 30, like for Southwest or something like that, have that code be unique to this particular promo so you can gauge its effectiveness over time. And that way too, especially when you have a code-based sort of promo, you're going to be able to shut it off. You're going to also have something that is somewhat organic, right? So maybe you're okay with that code being shared on Reddit or on, different promo and deal sites, retail, me not, coupon.com, things like that. And that's a shared code, but you can shut it off once the promo's over or whatever. But at the same time, you get some organic promo visits, right? And I think we touched on everything. We didn't really touch on testing, but you could roll out. That's a little trickier, especially you don't want to test and lose opportunity, or test and have a real negative result during a promo period. So, for example, most companies don't test during Black Friday or test significantly, because they don't want to risk anybody. But I think that if you're willing to take 10% out sort of thing and you have enough volume and you can test and get a good result, at least you have some information for your next year or your next holiday period or whatever. And I'm sure Amazon tests things all the time. It would be better to figure out how to test something ahead, if you can, either to a small group of customers or something like that, where you just get a sense of, is this attractive offer kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love it.
All right. So
I thought of something else and then it went out of my head. No, I lost it again.
Oh, no.
Oh, well.
It's okay. It happens.
Oh, I remember what it is. I do remember.
Okay.
So if there's anybody that has if they're thinking about launching a product or, whatever, or service, I guess. And it is something that is a e-commerce based, like that's how you would fulfill on it, is through your website. This is a little bit of a plug for Shopify because I'm just familiar with it. You can set up promos on Shopify that are, you can say, I only want to do it from people that have bought before. You can do, are your customers, and you can limit it to, they're only allowed to buy it once. Like it has the infrastructure in place to programmatically offer something. So even if like the notion of, let's say you want to gate something, like where you were like, oh, what if somebody puts it on Reddit or something like that? Well, it won't work if you set up these parameters of that kind of thing. So there's probably other platforms that do that too, but so it's just the one that I know. And it's Shopify is probably super sophisticated with e-commerce. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's all. All right.
Well,
I think that's a wrap.
From tangents to tactics.
It's mostly marketing.